Well, hello, and welcome back to my cellar. I'm going to be trying something different tonight the way I run this, so if it looks like I'm looking off into different areas, I am, just so you know. Something really weird happened 2 days ago. Well, this Tuesday, or Wednesday. Anyway, I went to look, it was Wednesday, and I went to look at the last week's episode. And it said I had 756 views, and I nearly shit myself. Come to find out, somehow or other, my channel had gotten to be a conversation site for a new movie coming out called The Tiger. And they were just going at it hammer and tongs. So I don't know what happened, so I called my trusty engineer, Jim. Said, Jim, what the hell's going on? He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I only got... And it was right. So I don't know what happened, but thank God I didn't have 756 to deal with. I don't know how I'd handle that. Badly, probably. All right, shall we start? Oh, well, this easy one. No question this week. Sorry, just want to say thanks for good work, past and present. Well, you're welcome. That was an easy one. Next. Thoughts on a gold-eating monster. If the monster in question actually has a taste for gold, it must be involved in its metabolism, and so probably it incorporates the gold somehow into its body. Therefore, all you've had to do after slaying it is burn, effectively smelting it as if it were gold ore. Such a monster would likely have a good deal more gold other than what it just ate from the party. Well, you're making some assumptions here. Now, I know it's fantasy. You can make any kind of assumptions you choose. However, just because I once had a cat that had a pica for aluminum foil. Ate aluminum foil every chance it got, went looking for aluminum foil in the wastebasket. Now, if I'd have killed my cat and cut it open, I wouldn't have found any aluminum foil inside, because little turd turned it into turds efficiently. However, all right, take the other side of the coin. Okay, yeah, if they had a gold Jones going on in their body, they had to have it, and they had a heavy buildup of gold in their body. Yeah, I guess you could do that. Now, tell me this, riddle me this. Gold's heavier than hell. How slow is that monster that eats gold? So we start to see some problems here. I'm not saying how to answer them necessarily, how to solve them, but you can see where we're starting to get into some problems. Big, slow, and ponderous. Natural armor class -5, because it's metal. Deboulet. For 45 years, I've been pronouncing it like bullet. It's pronounced boulet. Yes, I know. When I published the damn thing in Dragon number 1 in July of 1976, it said right there in the write-up, boulet. God, people want to, that's like telling, that's like telling the painter he can't call it American Gothic. Well, the hell he can't. It's his painting. Oh, well. Let's see. There was a reply to that one. It is French. Well, not really, but sort of. I was making fun of the French, and it was during a period in time, 1976, when the French were not terribly popular in the United States. A lot of the older generation were just sick to death of De Gaulle and his shit. And there was a wonderful, wonderful website for a while that was called, I kid you not, Fuck France. All right. Hope all's well. Thank you for the timely shipping of the world's smallest dice bags. They are great. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I still have some to sell. Remember, $25, handmade crocheted dice bag, 20-sider inside, just barely inside, I might add. And I found out that it costs the same whether it's one die or $5.85 for the postage to send it. So it's $5.85 whether you buy one or buy five, as someone did for Christmas presents. So I really would like to get rid of these and help this young lady out. I understand she's getting ready to make a major change in her life and actually move out of the basement that she's been living in. Handful of questions for you this week. What was a game design from the early days that you loved but TSR rejected? Can't think of one. Wasn't why I was brought there. I was hired into TSR to clean up what everybody else had written. I had some creative skills. Gary knew that when he hired me, but that wasn't why I was hired. What was the strangest fan letter or complaint you received as editor of Dragon magazine? Well, I've told the story before about the time that I got a letter at the Dragon. And this is early on, 76, 77, prior to Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. Because it was the letter that prompted Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. I got this crazy letter from this guy that was complaining that he had nothing to do this weekend with his group because last weekend they'd gone and they'd broken the Bifrost Bridge and they'd killed all the Valar and they'd wiped out the entire Norse pantheon, killed them all. When I got up off the floor laughing, well, actually, I didn't fall quite to the floor, but I sat down in my chair and pretty much lost it. Gary wanted to know what the hell was so funny, so I took it over and I tried to read it to him without losing it again. And from it came Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. Oh, yeah, you think you're just going to go in and kill Odin, huh? Oh, okay. Odin's got 600 hit points. Kill that. Which rule or mechanic caused the most heated debates at TSR? Oh, well, spell points and everything having to do with magic got debated at one time or another. When the idea of spell points came along, there were certain individuals at TSR that liked the idea, and there were other individuals that did not. And it got debated a lot. And thankfully, it was finally taken out behind the barn and shot. Because spell points was just a bad idea all the way around. Let's see. If you could secretly rewrite one piece of D&D lore, what would it be? Thank you for your time. Well, I don't know exactly what you mean by lore. You can't rewrite history. You could wish it wasn't that way, or you could wish you could have changed it. But let's face it, you can't. So I'll take a pass on answering that because I'm not really exactly sure what you mean. Okay, on to the next one. Dwarf, barista, curmudgeon, it is. That answer gave me a belly laugh. The Bitter Brew is a rival spot at Carson Plaza. Just like that, you give me the framework of a short, lighthearted campaign. Curmudgeon Cappuccino versus the Bitter Brew, hiring low-level adventures to steal secret recipes, customers, and the occasional sack of roasted beans. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome. I will commend the writer on the fact that you have pointed out that you can spin something in your campaign from almost anywhere. If you just look around and let stuff hit you, you can spin almost anything. Why not? Secret recipes, customers, Steal the beans. Okay. It's whatever works and whatever you have fun doing, isn't it? Okay. In a reply to that one, someone responded, if I ever write anything, we'll have the Cascade or Tim or Mitt the Druid or something like that in it. Well, that would be cool. If you're going to use me in something, make me the sage on the mountain that has all the answers, or deep in a cave or whatever. Why certainly, the sum is the hypotenuse. Okay, do that. That would be great. Did you ever have to interact with the people who printed the early D&D and AD&D products? Sure, of course I did. All of the earliest D&D stuff I have was given to me by a relative who worked at the place where they were pre-printed. I think it was in Beloit. Yeah, it might have been Patch Press, probably. I owe them a lot for giving me those books modules, only a few slightly misprinted. For that matter, I also owe you and the rest of TSR for creating a product to help a smart, shy, naive teen survive the trials and travails of junior high and high school. I have read through those books so many times. I'm sure there are more than a few people that are alive today because of your work. Well, thanks. I'm not the egotist to say we're a suicide preventer. But maybe somebody that was, trying to find out what it all meant to them found this, and I don't know. I'm real uncomfortable claiming credit like that, but maybe, might be. I worked with the people at Patch Press. In fact, they had their printing agent, their rep. Was a commercial photographer when he wasn't repping them. And he had an office not too far away from where I lived. And he had to go out of town for 2 weeks, so I agreed to take care of his rabbit. He had a just plain old ordinary brown rabbit. And that damn rabbit was just fun to have. He never pooped outside his box. Never found a rabbit pellet anywhere. Stayed in the back room. And didn't worry about coming out until I let him. Who knew a rabbit could be so much fun? Yeah, of course I worked with them. I spec in specking, giving specifics and specs. I spec'd books that were being printed. I certainly spec'd my own magazines every month. So yeah, I learned with the passage of time. Yeah, and there were some good people there. There were some really good people there. It was a good time. Update and the fair and festival game. I ran it Saturday. The games, eating contest and egg race went well. One player didn't want to do the eating contest. He found out the players who did got experience doing them. And wins got a prize from little rabbits to jewelry. It was random. The street performers, they loved. The people that sell things. Had a little lady wearing a polka dot dress on someone in the crowd and said, "Look, polka dot." And the girl started to lead a polka. Okay, cool. Okay, hi. I love the automaton role-playing. Stellar performance. On that topic, variation in grouped monsters stat blocks. Seems to me that the GM can make a meal of this in many ways. Question: how do I rate the notion of implementing an array or / levels of ferocity in a group of monsters? For example, from strong, middling to weak, Idea being some foes fall faster than others, allowing PCs to team up until the final tough guy carks it, cuts and runs, or cowers and pleads for mercy. I've been I've been doing that since the very beginning. Very beginning down in Carbondale. I would make a note that this group of orcs had just had their asses whipped up, and they were disheartened and they were wounded, and they all had none of them were up to full level of hit points, etc. I've done that with big monsters, little monsters. I've done it with monsters who had a really bad attitude because they'd just been, had something happen. Sure, I don't think monsters should react the exact same way every time if it's the same species. Why would we expect that? Not every dog likes to bite people. What about temporary buffs for monsters if rolls go the Delver's way a little too quickly? Is it okay for the DM to apply a healing factor? Monster number 3 drinks a potion that bumps him up a notch. Or using desperation attacks to buff the attack speed and damage of a cornered enemy. Okay. Temporary buffs. No. If the players are having great fortune, I don't start jacking stuff up ahead of them. Because I know, as sure as I'm sitting here talking to you right now and you're hearing these words whenever, the dice will turn, the tables will turn. When I was just a young man, my grandfather taught me the cards always turn. No matter what you're playing, the cards always turn. So, having said that, why not? Okay? They can have some great early success and swashbuckle their way through the first 5 rooms. And then, and this is a phenomenon that anybody that's DM for any length of time can tell you, they will come across something so profoundly simple and stumble on it and spend hours of game time, not in real time, but hours of game time, trying to puzzle something out that when you put it in there, you didn't think it was any big deal. Whatever it was just a simple, ordinary, whatever, but they see something else. So those kind of things, I think, tend to balance themselves out. And if you react too strongly and try to compensate in that fashion, I think you risk upsetting the whole apple cart. Because if the adventure, its parameters have been well designed based on the levels of the players, etc., the reward, then if they get some luck, fine, they'll get bad luck later. It always happens. Ask any poker player. They can go on a tear, a rocket, a heater, whatever they call it, and win, and then just as sudden it shuts off and they don't win another hand for 3 days. Cards always turn. The dice will always turn. Given enough time and play, it will balance itself out. How's my gaming group been going lately? It hasn't. Have I played Scoville 2nd Edition yet? No. It seems as though the only significant, it doesn't seem there's any significant changes except for a solitaire version of solitaire rules. They do have better peppers. They're plastic, and they're much easier to discern one from the other, one color from the other. Other than that, I don't see that there's any great change. I've read through it, and I didn't catch anything. Okay, onward. There's a great book called Orconymics, a satire. It's a comedy about what happens to adventures if capitalism gets too involved. It's got a whole different take on orcs and other monstrous races. It follows a dwarven berserker looking to redeem his reputation. It's really funny and has an audiobook too. It's really funny and I think you'd like it. Well, you know what? I'm going to look for it at my library. And if they got it, I'll read it based on your recommendation. My opinion has slightly evolved on the backstory conversation. I was and still am of the opinion that writing an essay for your level 1 character is unnecessary. The deeds you accomplish during play and the way you do so should shape your character more than anything that happens off screen. But, that being said, very few in my experience do the thought exercise necessary to form a distinct personality between their stats, alignment, race, and class. Even old school players. I personally fell in love with the Traveler character creation system for this reason. You can roll through your early life and the result is failed or successful careers, injuries, deaths, friends, and or enemies that suggest a personality to run with right from the start. It's not a matter of having some sort of dramatic off-screen events to flex on others, but something that roots you in the world of fiction with a unique persona you can easily step into. This exists in D&D, but it's a little more abstract and sort of optional. I try to get players to take these things into consideration, but found it's not always easy for people to grasp. Whereas in Traveler, it's a cooperative effort guided by the rules of the game itself at the start. And yes, Traveler is still the only role-playing game I am aware of where you can die during character creation. That's a distinction, isn't it? And see, there's an abbreviation here I'm not sure of. TLDR. Backstory that aligns your class, race, stats, and alignment into a unique persona is awesome. This should be something of a tool for the player, not additional baggage for the DM. Hope it makes sense. Yeah, it does. It does. Backstory should be what you did in the last adventure. You know how simple it write down. You talked about hosting games online. Where can we get more information? I couldn't find any information online. You mentioned a PayPal. Well, okay, here's the deal. I run it on Zoom. I charge $90 for a 4-hour session for up to 7 players. We play the Wheel of Blame. That's a one-off. When the payment has been received in my PayPal account, you will be sent not only the link to the game that we will work out between us. You know, I'm not gonna, here it is, take it or leave it. We will work that out. And I will send you the pregens. Because we use pregens in this. Now I've run this thing at least a dozen times at cons, and I've run it a dozen times or more with just the group in Okinawa. Playing to a pregen, being handed a pregen and said, here, play this character, can be a very useful exercise in role-playing in and of itself. Play this character. You're restricted by what's here. Your alignment, your religion, whatever is on there. Play this person. Don't be John Wayne. John Wayne was John Wayne, everything he ever did. Nah, we can do better than that. Contact me through this channel. Contact me on Facebook, Tim Cascoid. And I'll be glad to get in touch with you and we'll set something up. I like playing online. It's all on the honor system. On the wheel of blame, the only dice I roll are for the monsters. The players roll their own 2 hits. If they get hit, they roll their own damage. When they hit, they roll the damage that they inflict. When they get a heal, they roll the dice for the heal. It's never my fault. That's why I like it. But yeah, I'm glad to run. Weekends, weeknights, I don't care. I'm retired. Okay. Really enjoy your channel. Binged through during COVID lockdowns. Haven't missed an episode since. Love how you'd break down the early days and design thinking behind it. I've been toying with a new way to handle dice rolls in my games and want to get your take. What if, before the session starts, everyone, players and DM, rolls up a big list of dice, say 100 rolls each, and we just use them in the order as the game unfolds. Everything's laid out and visible, no fudging or second guessing. It's quicker, and it adds a layer of transparency and trust. Plus, it creates some instant tension when you know your next rule is a 2 or a 19. Do you think something like that could work, or would it mess with the spontaneity and drama too much? It could work. Would it mess? It would ruin the spontaneity and drama. Shh, waiting for that die to quit rolling. If you knew you had a 2 coming up next, if you play in my game, you could manipulate so that you use that 2 for the next. You've got a roll that you know you need low. You look over and there's a 17 coming next. You get cocky and roll high, or play high. Play strong. There is some potential for abuse. Plus, it takes out. I don't like it because it takes out the drama. Waiting for the die to finish rolling on the table, or listening to it and watch it roll out of the bottom of the dice box. But that's just my personal opinion. If you decide to do that for some game session, do it. Get back to me and let me know how you liked it. All right, we're coming up to the end here. Is that a union hat? Well, yes and no. It's a union kepi, K-E-P-I. That is the name of this style of cap, kepi. And someone went on to say, with an artillery branch device, it would seem. Yes. Quick little story. I have a great, maybe one more time great uncle who fought in the Civil War. He joined the Illinois Volunteer Mounted Infantry. Fought in 5 or 6 significant battles in the West. When Grant was promoted to take over the Army of Potomac in the East, he took a brigade with him of his favorite, trusted, whatever. My great unit was there. Several years ago, somebody in my family did the research and the work, and his unit's battalion flag had 11 major encounters. They had fought in 11 major fights in the war, both East and West theaters. So, yeah, I got a little bit of a pull toward the Civil War. If I had been there, I know I would have been in the artillery, dropping large Dahlgren shells on the enemy. I just would have. That's the way it works. I would have. I bought this cap over 40 years ago. It was in an ad in the back of a military history magazine for props. This company sold theatrical quality props, And there it was, a Union Kepi. Already nicely slouched, as you can see. Nice leather bill. Silkish, nice slick lining. Any device I wanted, so I got artillery. And I think I paid, I don't remember what I paid. It was like, oh, I want it badly enough, I'll pay that. And now I last time I looked for something of this quality, it was $80 or $90. So I'm just glad I picked it up when I did. Occasionally I get one of my my gray hairs. There we go. Stuck on the front. So yes, it is a Union. It's a replica, yes. Hope you're well and all your family. Questions on family and dungeons. How you feel about PCs bringing their families along on adventures? To be clear, I don't mean Cousin Jeff, the dead ringer from my PC, but the PC's wife and 2 kids. Have you ever played or DM'd in a one-on-one game? No, never have. Couldn't see it. We're going to sit down and do one-on-one. Let's play poker, smoke a joint. Not going to play D&D. I've actually played the situation in my school days. I played a character with a wife and 2 kids. It developed a one-on-one game from my DM and I played after school, but then we stupidly ported them over to the lunchtime school game. This was a provocative and unbalanced thing to do. Shortly after my DM ported in a wizard that he and another player were one-on-one gaming with during the school periods they had together. Scurrilously, they did this with a plan of seeing if this wizard could join our party, only to backstab, ambush us all, and kill us all in one fight, which they did, which killed my PC and his progeny pretty damn quick. Overpowered by the backstabbing wizard. Have you ever let any play PCs that are children? No. Why not? Never saw the need. I wrote one of the Lost Adventures of Gary Con has children in them that have to be rescued, and a couple of them have knowledge that they can share with the players that'll help them conclude their rescue mission. But as a player character, nah. I played child characters in the past. It was a one-shot where there were only 3 players, including the DM. The kids died pretty quick. Lesson, see a bear, run away. Yeah, good lesson. Too bad those PCs couldn't benefit from it. Those one-on-one games are intense, seemingly allowing for strange characterizations and situations that would probably be not practical or tolerable in group play. Yeah, I can see where that might happen. In some ways, looking back on it, we were playtesting, testing the boundaries of role-playing and often good taste. I guess that's the purview of the young. Yeah, especially the good taste part. Yeah, we all test that sucker right away, don't we? But yeah, hey, if you had fun and you feel that it made you a better role player, great. I'm not going to tell you were wrong or you shouldn't have. Hell no. You had fun. Hey, game's all about having fun. It's all about having fun. All right, last question. Greetings. Hope you're having a great day. Do you deal with level drains, and if so, do you have any advice on that? Well, there's nothing that'll make a player's rectum pucker quicker than coming across something that drains levels. I mean, in one touch, weeks or months of gameplay can be negated by being drained that level that you spent all that time working up. Yes, I believe level drains have their place in the game. I don't think they should be common. I think it should be damned uncommon. And I believe that, to be fair to the group, you shouldn't have some new monster they've never seen that has that capability. That's just crap. Just crap. Okay? Yeah, now you're just setting up the players to fail. In cases where players haven't kept note of their HP that they've rolled, how do you level drain in such cases? I take their level, their number of dice, times the average number that dice rolls, and then detract the correct number of dice for the loss of the level. And if they end up losing more points than those dice originally generated, tough. Level drain should not be used lightly. Level drain should make everybody's sphincters pucker. I mean, come on, they can wipe out weeks of gameplay. So they shouldn't be just thrown in there willy-nilly. There should always be a way to develop a tactic for any creature that can level drain. That is the worst scenario in this game. Because even if you killed a son of a bitch, if he touched you first that round and drained you, you're drained. Drain's a bitch. What is my advice? Don't mess with anything that can drain you. Do not. If you find yourself in a circumstance where you may not or cannot evade, then fight like hell and kill him right away, from a distance where you can't be touched. Also, on the note of creating new monsters, I find daydreaming and napping for only purpose of letting the mind go crazy is a great practice for monster creation. Whatever it takes, I like to roll a joint. Thanks to that, I created a monster of the following description. Yeah, this is interesting. Body of a gorilla, fur of an owlbear. Thought those were feathers. 4 hands, 2 legs. The head looks like a mixture between an owl and a beetle. Within its back fur resides butterfly wings, and it has a breath weapon that summons fairies. Well, that's a badass monster. Especially if it's got a lot of hit dice. If it's only got 23 hit points, big deal. But if it got 67, now we're talking serious. The point being, great. Make stuff up. Make stuff up. That's great. It'll bedevil your players because it's not in the book. No, Buttercup, it's not in the book. Learn to live with that fact. It's not in the book. Well, then I guess you're going to have to learn how to play in this instance anyway. It's not in the book. The Wheel of Blame, the game that I run, is all about thinking outside the box. Ignoring the fact that a box even exists. The absurd. Party was faced with a near impenetrable wall of thorns. About 18 feet up, they could see that you could get over it that high up. Of course, they didn't have anything 18 feet. And so they were watching these enormous butterflies fly back and forth over the wall, collecting nectar from these enormous flowers. And so after beating their head against the proverbial wall for a while, one of them said he's going to strip off naked, had 2 of the other players go get these giant flowers and pour the nectar all over his body. And sure enough, a couple 7 butterflies picked him up. They were big butterflies. Carried him over the fence of thorns, and they were able to go on because he was able to affect some interesting things on the party from the other side of the wall. So, just because you look at it and you don't know what it is, you don't necessarily mean to think it's harmful. Nor by the same token should you necessarily think, oh, it's going to be my buddy and happily carry me around on his back. Because that's not likely to happen either. Now, many years ago, a friend drew a picture of a lizardoid type character from which I spun out a whole story, and I may still write it, but I spun out a whole story about the people that rode the lizards, and whatever the conflict was, the players went in thinking they were going to help the people riding the lizards when actually they were there to liberate the lizards who were intelligent, but who had this magical bit placed between their teeth and it drained their smarts. That was fun. Let's see, what else we got going here? Nothing right off the bat. Please remember, I have some of those dice bags. Christmas is coming. Con season's almost wound down. Gen Con's passed. The only thing major left that I'm aware of is Game Hole, at least in the Midwest that I'm aware of. There may be other things going on down on the coasts. Everybody will have already seen what wonders they did or didn't have at Gen Con, what wonderful things. Gen Con has become a retail trade show. It's huge. They sell out every day, and the dealers' rooms are elbow to elbow the entire time. I know there's games going on. Don't get me wrong. But, if you don't go to the gamer's room and spend at least $100, well, then you're a piker. Oh, well, I guess I'm a piper. I don't even go. Too much of a crowd. Last time I went, I got trampled on a mobility cart. So I don't do it anymore. If you do, hey, great. Cons are great. I love cons. Don't get me wrong. I love cons. They're just too debilitating at my age now. I guess that's all we have. Well, that worked out all right. No longer am I cutting and pasting and printing out the... where'd you go? There we are. Printing out the cut and paste and that. I'm just dividing my screen and reading off one side and answering on the other. And it worked out pretty well. So, man, after doing this long, I'm looking for shortcuts that don't involve skimping on what the content, but making it easier to do. I think I found one. And on that promising note, I'll bid you all doda. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, a curmudgeon in the cellar. Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller. curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. DSR and Phantom Seed, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree.
High as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Still quite the feller,
The curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.